Good afternoon. This is the Southern Nevada Council of Governments, our second meeting, and we are here on March 31st at 4 o'clock p.m., and I will ask for a roll call if I can.
Councilman Knudsen,
I'm here.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Councilwoman Allen Polensky,
Present.
Commissioner McCurdy, excused, Councilman Stewart, excused, Councilwoman Larson, Councilman Churchio, Councilman Black,
I'm on the phone.
Councilwoman Ashurst.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much, and for those on the phone, thanks you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it. And I'm assuming we're in compliance with the open meeting law.
We are.
And item number 3 is public comment. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, your time is now. Please come forward. Hearing and seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. And item number 4 is for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference to the regular meeting of the February 24th, 2026.
Move approval.
There's a motion. Please vote. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, that passes. And moving on to item number 5, discussion for possible action to select a Southern Nevada Council of Governments logo. The most important part.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seth Floyd for the record. Well, I was going to say that I think you are all expecting to be so successful that you need to make sure you can market yourselves. So to make sure you can do that appropriately, we have developed 3 mock-ups of some potential logos for you to vote on, and they should be on your screen now. And we will open it up for you all to pick one, and if we vote on that, we can move forward. I will tell you, well, never mind, because I think staff picked one that's not up there, so never mind. I was going to say staff put one on the front of my binder, but it's not one of the ones that's up there.
The only distinction is the shades of blue, correct?
I'll defer to Marco, because Marco commissioned the development of these.
Marco Villa for the record. No, actually, this was done through our graphic artists, I believe. So I will have to defer to them on this, but I believe these were approved through the city in terms of there is only one variation on the theme here. I believe it's the color and the shading.
I would just say that, for all of the logo wear that I know that we're all going to be wearing as member of the Council of Governments.
I'm getting jackets, t-shirts, mugs, hats, everything.
Number 3 will probably be the easiest for the graphic art and the embroidery artist to do, but just
This is a real test to see if we can all agree across jurisdictions on a logo. So is it possible? There's a motion. I'm going to take that as a motion for number 3. And I know on the phone it might be, if you can't see it, it's a wonderful SNCOG, Southern Nevada Council of Governments logo that the commissioner thinks will be easy to embroider with a motion to approve.
so moved.
Okay, there's a motion. Let's see if we can do this. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody want to venture a nay? Hearing and seeing none.
Not a nay.
Don't even tempt it.
Sounds good.
We all agree. See that? Southern Nevada working together.
Agree. Sounds good.
That passes. Thank you very much. More complex issues now. We will move on to item number 6, discussion for possible action to identify one or more matters of regional significance of the 2026 calendar year.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Significantly
Chair.
more complicated.
This will be a little bit more complicated. Seth Floyd again for the record. So we're going to hand out here while I'm talking I don't want to call it a final list because certainly it's in your discretion to add or amend these, but over the last month or so, since the last meeting, month and a half, staff and I have met with all of you, and I appreciate how engaged and enthusiastic and thoughtful you all were in choosing topics that you thought might be worthwhile topics for the SNCOG to take on for its first year or year and a half. We have organized these. You'll see there are 9. There were more than that there were more ideas than that, but some of them fell into categories that we thought were related. If you disagree, we can talk about that, but we were trying to not give you 25 and give you a reasonable number to work from. So we have ranked them in order of how often they were mentioned. So they are in essentially volume order, not necessarily priority, because we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. All of these topics are important. You all did a great job. We gave you a homework assignment after the last meeting, which was to go back and think through issues of regional significance that you are seeing in your jurisdictions or that you're seeing across the valley. And the fact that you choose one over the other is not necessarily a reflection on whether they're important or not, but we obviously have a scope both of what the COG does, and we have some practical considerations for you to think about as we go through this process of choosing a topic. And you'll notice on the first page at the top, and I'm going to put it up on the screen now too, is the purpose statement for the COG, just to remind you of what the mission of this organization does, because I think that will help inform to some degree what topic you're gonna choose. And I also wanted to mention that we asked you to think of a few things as we were going through the discussion as well, including one, is it squarely within the jurisdiction of the COG? And I think for the most part, all of these topics are. Second was, is this something that we can feasibly take on within a year, year and a half? Because what we heard from you all last time is it's important that we get a win, that we come out with a deliverable that we can actually wrap our heads around in a year, year and a half, and show some progress on that issue. So we asked you to do that as well, and we're going to ask you to do that again in just a minute. So let me stop talking for a moment. If you all would read through these topics, and then we will start with our deliberation on how we're going to get to choosing the final one.
We should note that Councilman Stewart joined us as well.
This is Denise Ashurst, Boulder City. I do not have that on my screen.
Oh, I apologize. I'm actually going to put that on the screen. Oh, okay. We're going to do two things. We're going
Not part of the agenda.
We're going to put it on the screen, and then we're also going to email it. So if you have access to your email, we're going to send that to you right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Councilman Black will do that for you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Floyd, are these ranked in any particular order? Are you recommending, one as potentially our priority, or?
So they're ranked in order of how many mentions there were across our one-on-one meetings. So it's not necessarily that we've chosen that any are more important than the other. But for example, senior fraud and senior services came up the most often in our conversations, and then on down the line. Now, several of them toward from about number 4 or 5. 5 through 9 had about one mention each. So the first 3 or 4 had multiple mentions across our conversations. And we did combine a few. I mean, there were some topics that were different subcategories, I guess you'd say, of each topic were discussed, but we tried to squeeze them into as few topics as possible, so you'd have some fewer things to consider.
And only because you mentioned 5, so my eye ran directly to it. The commentary here, heavy reliance on SNPLWA funding, which is not sustainable long-term. What is the thought? Because SNPLWA is going to go away? Because, I guess we all heard 9 months ago our congressional delegation not speaking with one voice, but I thought we were beyond that at this point.
So we purposely didn't put any names, didn't attribute any of these to the folks who mentioned them. So I would kick that back to you all. If the person who made that comment wants to discuss the rationale for it, we're going to get into some of that when we get to once you've had a time to review it, we're going to kind of walk through and discuss each one.
Chair? Yeah. Yes. Without really, I've reviewed these, we talked, and without prioritizing, because there's so many good ones here. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know how the rest of my colleagues feel, but as far as I'm concerned, I think one of the highest metric of picking one is one that we can achieve because of the first year. I mean, there are so many good and valuable things to be done here. I think this group needs to have a win, and I think that needs to be a high priority in picking one that we can actually achieve some kind of success. And there's some kind of measurable. It's just not something, but something measurable. I just put that out there. Not trying to rank any of them right now. Just I think that should be, at least in my mind, kind of a heavy overarching theme.
Yeah, Councilman Seth Floyd, for the record, that came up in almost every single one of our conversations, so I think your colleagues all agree with you on that. We have, in just a couple of minutes here, once everyone's done reviewing, I want to make sure the folks on the phone have a chance to review it too, since we just emailed them. We'll go through a few questions to try to narrow these down, and one of them gets at that exact question is, are any of these ones that we can't really achieve in a year, year and a half? And if so, we'll strike those from the list for this year.
Mr. Chair, this is Scott Black. Through you, Mr. Chair, I did not receive an email. It's my email is blacks@cityofnorthlasvegas.com.
Okay, we are resending that one right now, so we'll confirm in just a minute to make sure you got it.
Thank you.
Councilman Black, did you receive that email?
I did not yet. Let me double check one more time. I did not, but it's okay. I have a pretty good familiarity of the ones that I was honing in on, and so I'd be happy to proceed with the conversation. I'm good to go.
So, Mr. Chair, if you don't
Even
mind.
though I did not.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just say I did not receive the email yet, but I'm good to proceed.
Well, I promise we didn't do this on purpose, but let me read them. Let me just quickly read through them, just so to refresh your memory on these. The first topic, and we've divided this into a 1A and a 1B, is senior fraud and senior services is 1A. 1B is group homes, fraud, licensing, and safety. Number 2 was childcare, access to childcare, cost, and land use. Item number 3 was traffic, street, and school safety. Item number 4, housing affordability and land use reform. Item number 5, parks and regional recreation infrastructure. Item 6, mentorship and youth development. Item 7, human trafficking. Item 8, funding and legislative alignment. And item 9, education, general and pre-K.
Got it. As you were reading, it came through, so now I have double coverage. I'm
Oh,
good
perfect.
to go.
Mr. Floyd, do you mind, just for this, this committee, do you mind talking a little bit about your own personal experience? Because sometimes we want to make sure that we're aligning you as an executive director with what you're able to accomplish and your skill sets, and maybe the team that's supporting you.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that. I think that may help with some of the questions down the line too. So the SNRPC historically has had a planning focus, a planning and land use focus. I mean, I think that's been largely what it has done since its inception. I think what was interesting about these conversations is that conversation has expanded into other things because some of the limitations that were in state law no longer exist. My background is I do have a planning background. I was a planner here at the City of Las Vegas 20 years ago, almost 21 years ago now. and then was a practicing lawyer for a while, and then back to the city in the planning department, and now over economic development and planning. Most of our staff is, at least on our team, is housed within the planning department. Marco, who has been with the SNRPC for many years, is responsible for our master plan. So that does include a lot of things that aren't traditional planning and covers everything that our master plan covers. I know most of the staff in the room, and I think most of those staff are also from the planning department. So I think when you look at expertise, a lot of that is in the planning and land use arena. But I think we're unique. We're all uniquely situated where whatever topic you choose, we will be able to support that from a staff level. Is that what you were looking for? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, let me first ask, after having read through the topics, is there anything that you saw that we didn't capture that we need to add, or that was not exactly what was intended and that we need to amend?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Number 8, the funding and legislative alignment. In my personal opinion, we need to have that in tandem with whatever we decide to go with, because there is no achieving the other thing without 8. So I feel like 8 we should adopt just as part and parcel of what this new board does. And then focus on
second
the
the motion.
topics. Oh. There can be more discussion. But it just seems like one of the foundational reasons to do this is to have funding in the future, so we can't neglect that. And the legislative alignment just seems like a natural, if we're going to bring all of these bodies together and we're going to discuss an issue, that we leave cookie crumb trails for our legislature so that hopefully they can be a part of the solution as well.
And I would just add, a lot of these conversations we've had over the last year have been based on the success of Henderson with Southern Nevada Strong, which happened 15 years ago. I don't know, 15 years ago. And it was really based on Henderson taking the lead role on something that was about regional planning. And that ended up going to the RTC, but the ability to apply for federal funding as a regional body, it increases our chance of federal or state funding. And so if we keep that as a priority, maybe it happens. Maybe this isn't the right funding season, but maybe the next funding season is right.
And maybe the way to frame it is that is a long-term goal of the COG. That's not a thing that we're going to accomplish per se this next 6 months, but it's a long-term goal of the COG that we're going to continue to sort of keep on the agenda, but that we're going to pick a more shorter-term goal today too.
Mr. Chair, yeah. I don't know if it'll make it any easier. I doubt it, because it wouldn't probably be picked anyway. But I'm number 9, the last one, was the one I kind of got my head around, and it's just too broad for this, I think. So I'm happy to say maybe we ought to take number 9 off, and but I would keep the pre-K, and that, I think that's part of the childhood number 2. Childcare could be. But education is just so broad and so big. I don't think there's a lot this group can do at this time. So I don't know if that helps. Now there's 8 instead of 9.
Yeah.
But.
Well, you beat me to what I was going to do next, which is start having us sort of narrow our focus.
But I got your text.
Oh, good. That's good. And thank you for going first. You were the first volunteer. So you'll notice on either side of the room, as we go through this next process, which is kind of the workshop part of the process, we've got Ian and Marco on my team sort of memorializing kind of where we're headed, writing some notes on the other topics. So with that, let me ask a first question. We'll see if we can get it from 8 down to fewer than 8. And that is, if you look at the vision statement, and let me put it back up on the screen here. So Jeff, if you can go back to the PowerPoint. Perfect. Are there any of these that align most closely with the statement of purpose? So, and then just as a reminder, the purpose is to cooperatively address regional issues, identify common needs, coordinate government services and responsibilities, engage in comprehensive regional policy planning, and assist the members in the conduct of their affairs. The activities performed by the council are intended to complement and not duplicate or supersede the functions of the members in their governing bodies, agencies, boards, or other bodies. So do you have 1 or 2 topics that most closely align with the vision statement. And if anyone wants to volunteer, or we can go down the line.
I can volunteer because I have an issue that's come up that I think kind of fits the purpose. And I did bring copies because it's hard for me to talk about land use because I'm not a land use attorney, I'm not a planner, but each of us have to deal with land use on a pretty regular basis. And so I was approached by a group about expanding access to childcare. So Councilman Stewart, this is kind of to your point, we don't maybe get to education, but all of our jurisdictions somehow influence it in some form or fashion. So I'm going to just pass this out because I find it interesting. It's an academic exercise for me, so I'm going to give one to the clerk. And this was a group that was met that had representatives from Henderson, North Las Vegas. Mayor Pro Tem Black was part of it. The county was part of it. And what the group was talked about is how do we expand access for childcare, and some of the barriers that were listed by the advocacy group was our local levels are creating barriers and we're not communicating effectively with the state. And so they came up with a variety of different solutions at the local level that could potentially impact the access to childcare within each of our jurisdictions. Now, I'm not advocating for their policies, but I do think it's a worthwhile conversation to say, can we go back with our planning teams or our building officials to say, are we doing the same things across all of Southern Nevada so that childcare employers have the same equal footing in each jurisdiction? I think that's a worthwhile conversation, and that's something that I think goes into that land use conversation that could potentially be addressed by the COG. A related conversation, and Seth and I have talked about this a lot, is the conditional use permits and special use permits. Right now, they're being licensed by the state for, say, sober living homes or veterans homes or other kind of home situations. And the state and the cities may not be completely aligned around what the jurisdictional requirements should be. And so that, I think it's the same conversation from a planning perspective, I think, from a conditional use permit, special use permit, and the state licensing requirements from childcare to group homes. And I think that would be worthwhile for us all to get on the same page. And my guess is there may be some statutory changes that we need to look at. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I think it's worth exploring as a region. So that's kind of my pitch for land use and talking about education and really servicing people in our communities.
Just based on what you said, it seems as though someone's having this conversation already, right? Because you were on another board with some people from the county discussing this, and this was generated. So is it possibly duplicative if we choose that because someone else is doing this deep dive already?
They did this in Reno. They can't figure out how to approach Southern Nevada because the people who are approaching this topic don't understand the local government jurisdictions within Southern Nevada. So they came to me with a request, and I told them I would explore it. And I can explore it just with the city of Las Vegas, but then there's value in probably looking at other jurisdictions at the same time.
And I may be able to add just a little bit of clarity, so I'll put on my City of Las Vegas hat for a second. We are doing a deep dive now on, and it comes in a variety of forms. Building officials have a group that actually I just got an email this morning that they're assigning tasks related to looking at group homes. We are meeting with the state as well to try and figure out licensing because it's a little convoluted how the licensing works between some of these. So, but I don't know that there is an agency that is tasked necessarily with putting all that information together. So the work, I think you're right, is being done. Not sure that there's necessarily a regional agency or body.
In my how I can see this, if the board agrees, is if we ask Seth and his team to kind of put together the basic framework of what policy options there would be, present to this group, and then maybe each of us think it's a good idea, and then we go back to our own jurisdictions and sponsor an ordinance. If that way it gets heard multiple times, there's opportunities for the community to engage, and we create some cohesion among Southern Nevada entities. That's kind of how I would see this playing out. And then maybe Seth is able to work with the other jurisdictions to kind of parse out the work, whatever that work is.
And if there are things that we can't do locally within our own jurisdictions that need legislative approval, then the COG would say, hey, we need help with this.
Yeah.
So anyone else have a topic or two that other than this one, that they think aligns most closely with the purpose of the COG.
I'll step up and advocate for item number 3, the traffic, streets, and school safety. I do think we're at a point where it's a public health crisis getting kids to school safely, and the number of incidents of cars hitting kids is alarming. It's also something that I don't know that any other body can do independently. We have multiple police departments and Metro down here. We have different local governments. Everybody's got a different public works department. So it is uniquely within the purpose mission statement there to work cooperatively to find reasonable solutions to something that we're all impacted by dramatically.
And I'll just sort of chime in on that. If you roll back 9 months, say, to the e-bikes, the e-motorcycle issue, right?
Yes.
We all sort of were confronted with it. We're all sort of independently working on the issue, and we pretty much got to the same place. But you look back, and if we had a COG in place last September, then we could have easily just put this kind of thing on agenda for the COG and said, hey, what do we want to do?
This is best practice. Yeah.
You know, our public works, safety, and planning teams could have collectively worked together as they sort of did after the fact. But it would have been cleaner, and we would have had a better voice to the public of like, what are we collectively trying to do, if that had come through the COG.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I tried to identify issues that were more or less visible to the general public. I think all of these items over here are excellent to take on, but as my colleague had mentioned early on, that we need something that would be able to accomplish within the first year, or have a better opportunity to accomplish in the first year. But by the same token, have merit to move forward to kind of assist the public in general. And I pretty much picked mine out already. One of the main ones I picked out originally was parks and regional recreation issues. I think that goes right across the board with all of our jurisdictions, particularly speaking of North Las Vegas. You know, we're growing by leaps and bounds over there, trying to keep up with the growth and parks and recreation. Those are all very, very important things that I think we could all benefit from. Things that people could actually see that we're making progress with, something visual to the general public. The other thing was just mentioned, traffic, street, and school safety. I don't know about all of you, but I've never seen so much speeding going on, donuts going on, and muffler modifications going on, license plates being covered by dark plastic so you can't read the license plates. It's gotten worse progressively over the past year, and I can tell you when I speak with our police department, they do the very best they can. But I had suggested some type of group within the police department, not just the motors, to get out there on traffic safety and ticketing, but just to have a traffic division that would be visible to the general public, not just a police officer on a motorcycle, but a vehicle marked as traffic safety or traffic enforcement. I think that's a very important topic. I think that affects not only seniors, children in particular. Too many children are getting injured, killed with reckless drivers who could care less, and not even talking about the people that drink and drive. But those would be at least the two that I would put on there. And then first, and not necessarily first, but number A, 1A and B. I have a lot of problems with that in my ward. And I don't know if there's a general lack of communication when you organize a group home. A lot of our communities are HOA covered, and a lot of these group homes going in there have absolutely no communication with the homeowners association, and they just move in there and they set up shop, and nobody knows they're there until after the fact. And then it's very difficult to address the issues, particularly if they land next to you as a private homeowner and you see 4 or 5 cars pulling up there every single day, different cars. And then they have parties over there. And how do you get them out? How do you find out they're there? It's almost like the what do you call it? Not the group homes, but the ones that you rent for
Short-term
vacation
rentals.
purposes. Yes.
Yeah.
But we have an ordinance for that, so we're pretty much in control of that. But when it comes to these type of issues, it seems like nobody has real control over that. And these 3 items at least, and they're all good. I'm willing to select anything that we kind of lend a hand to and make it happen. But I think these 3 should be considered for us to go ahead and tackle the first year. Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Yes, I was going to say I'll go through a few, like all of them I think are good. The senior fraud and senior services, I started something like that already in our ward. I have a retired law enforcement and FBI agent who specialized in this, and he conducts these free trainings. He goes anywhere. He said, wherever you schedule me or put me, I will make sure I provide that information because it is very, very prevalent. I just don't know, he's one person. And so we have been doing something like that in Henderson already, but he's welcomes going anywhere and he can assemble a team to provide that. But again, the measurable part is what I have a question on. Traffic, street, and school safety, I agree it's an issue. Dan and I were talking about that. Councilman Dan and I were, okay, Dan. And I were talking about that because we already have a motorcycle brigade that does that. However, they're limited. We're down staff right now. We will have our highest graduation class coming, but until they get ramped up, they said they don't have dedicated services to go to the schools. The city of Henderson is, we pay for crossing guards or some.
I think all the entities do, right?
Yeah, because even some schools, the principals and staff are going out there trying to help too, because it is an issue and they should not be doing that. And they've told, I said, don't do that because of liability. And so it is an issue, but the question remains staffing levels. But the one that interested me the most, but I'm willing to go with whatever we decide, is the mentorship and youth development. I think that's something we can get our hands around. Right now, I'm working with the Raiders doing just that. We've been having bi-monthly sessions at the Raiders training facility, and they've even bussed the children in, and they have the vendors come in, and it's kind of like a passport type of thing where the children get to speak to the vendor about what they provide. They receive training, they receive breakfast, lunch, and potential internships, depending on what grade it is. But we did something like this similar in Illinois. They called it Vocation Vacations, and it was similar to where the businesses volunteered, and there was a drop-down menu for the different genres that the children wanted to select, and then they got to shadow at that particular business. And then depending on the age, they could work into an internship and future job. So it's feasible. We're kind of working on something like that, but that would be my pick, but I'll go with whatever the team decides.
Sure.
Please.
Yeah, I just want to say on 1A.
Chair Knudsen?
Uh,
Hey, this is Scott Black. I have to drop off at 4:45, so I thought if it's okay, may I weigh in real quick?
Yes, please do.
And then also, by dropping off at 4:45, I won't jeopardize quorum, will I?
No, we have 5 in the room, Councilman, so we are good.
Okay, so I think when I look at this through the lens of being able to tackle something in a short fixed period of time, that we can have an action steps, deliverables that are quantifiable, and deliver a win right out of the gate for the COG, and build some momentum and prove our concept. I think that is a high priority for me. But then also of these items on this list, they're all relevant. They all have, there is a need in each of these categories, but which one is really resonating from our community, from the public? What's the outcry or the visible demand for action that is super relevant? And I think that one is what Councilwoman Francis said, which is the school safety, traffic. I think that's one that we could. I mean, all the raw ingredients are there. We have Erin Breen at the Vulnerable Road Users Program at UNLV. She has the data. She has the connection, the network to all the agencies that we do, the Joining Forces Task Force. So it already has some visibility and pieces all throughout the community, but I think the COG could bring it together in a real cohesive, meaningful message with continuity and what we can do as a community, even above and beyond the limited law enforcement capacity we have through messaging, through, being a good neighbor, advocating, neighbor to neighbor, peer to peer, for best practices and good behavior. So I like that one a lot. And then also second to that, another one I think that we could, that there is a demand in the community that's unmet that I think we could show some movement on is a really robust education campaign and action steps regarding fraud in our senior community. So those are the two that I think are super relevant. There is an unmet demand or need in the community, and I think that those are two that we could get behind as a group regionally, put the pieces together that are already existing and make them meaningful and move things forward.
Thank you, Councilman. And just before you drop off the phone, I just want to maybe give a highlight to something that we're working on at the city. I have worked with most of your jurisdictions, representatives from your jurisdictions on, and with the Metropolitan Police Department on red light enforcement. It's traffic speeding and red light enforcement. That contract is going to the council in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if it's going to pass or not, but if it does, we're intending on collecting a whole bunch of data around the type of infractions happening within multiple intersections within the city of Las Vegas, and sending out just kind of a warning letter. We can't send out citations, but a warning letter to people saying, hey, we know you're speeding, we know you ran a red light, please don't do that again. And then using that data for potential legislative action in the future. Now that's super controversial. I don't know if the group is interested in that, but that is something the city's doing, and to a certain extent, each of the jurisdictions have been having those same conversations with the sheriff. So before you dropped off, I just wanted you to be aware of that, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
And then I think next up, Commissioner.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think 1A is very noble and something that makes a lot of sense. I do think it seems a little bit farther afield from the planning staff's wheelhouse, and so I think they probably have to look beyond their current skill set in order to get that expertise. I just wanted to raise that. I think
Seth did say he wasn't a planner 20 years ago, so he's in that senior group now. So maybe he has that experience.
yeah,
Almost. Almost.
says the two bald guys. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. I think the group homes and the child care sort of fit into the land use piece of it that is in the wheelhouse a little bit better than the going after fraud piece of it.
And Mr. Chairman, I would note, so of all the topics that have been discussed, if you look at Marco's, the way that he has framed your responses to that question, there is one on here that is not directly reflected on your 9, and that's group homes, because I think that as you were discussing that, you kind of combined a couple of them into that topic. So we've added that as an additional topic here that I think does encapsulate components of both 1A and the child care, which is number 2 or 3. Number 2.
Mr. Chair, may
Councilman,
I?
please.
And I apologize before I even get started here, because I don't want to get off into the weeds and trying to solve the problem or problems already. But is there a way, maybe you, Seth, could just kind of, it would help me decide on maybe what is the best. How do we go about attacking this, that as a group? I mean, so we pick one. What are the next steps? And that might help me kind of focus.
Yes, thank you, Councilman. We are only on question 1. So I have a whole. It's like a reverse pyramid here. We're still at the top of that. So if you all are comfortable with these, I think we've identified it as 6 that we've put on the sheet here. I've got a couple of other questions that I think will help us get down to, and I'll telegraph this so you're not wondering where we're going with this. I've got a couple more questions to try to get us down as close to 3 as possible. And then we're going to essentially do a ranked choice vote to see if we get to our final one. That's what your ballot is for, if you see a blank ballot on there. And if we're at 1 at the end of that, then we're done. Otherwise, I've got a few other fun things to try to get you down to the final one. So the next question to help us. And Mr. Chairman, I apologize. Councilwoman Ashurst is also on the phone,
Yes,
and
yes.
she has to drop off as well. So.
And I was going to get to you too.
Actually,
Councilwoman.
I don't have to drop off.
Okay, excellent.
Do you want to provide some feedback on yours?
I do, to kind of narrow down your list. I am totally in agreement with item number 3, the traffic, street, and school safety. That is continuity and for all of our jurisdictions. I think everybody's having a problem with that, and you could almost roll that into mentorship with the school safety, with maybe education program for the children on e-bikes. So that could kind of roll in, but I think we all have the same consensus on number 3 for sure as one. And then my other one that I had, my computer just dropped off, was the mentorship. That was my second pick again, but I could roll that in with the school safety and traffic as far as continuity is concerned. Did I lose you?
No, thank you very much. There was a comment here about affordable housing, but I appreciate I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
It's just, it ranks quite high. But
I hope you make it to a meeting because it's a lot of fun up here.
Yes.
Or we could do a traveling show to Boulder City. That sounds fun.
Absolutely.
You're hosting.
Monica and I will go for that.
All right, so if we're comfortable with these 6, moving on to the next question from there, one of the things that Councilman Black mentioned, and all of you talked about this in some form during our one-on-ones, is it's one thing to pick a topic that meets the purpose. It's another to choose one that has a clearly defined deliverable. So I'll ask this question in the positive, but you could also think of it in the negative. Which of these topics has the strongest potential deliverable? Or if you're looking to just cut a few, which have the least well-defined deliverable, and maybe we can drop off 1 or 2 of these.
The process of elimination, this is Denise from Boulder City, would definitely be housing affordability. That seems like a broad subject to tackle and to get a deliverable within a year.
I will say on traffic safety, the county, along with a lot of the jurisdictions, had already worked in the legislature in 2025 and in the special. So I think there's already sort of a list of priorities there that we could just sort of like adopt and push forward.
I agree.
Just from personal interest, the group homes, childcare centers, SUPs, conditional use permits, all of that is directly impacting me right now. So that's why I bring it up, and it seems like it might be impacting everyone. And I brought a handout. I came prepared. Yeah.
So is that, Councilman, Mr. Chairman, is that your way of saying that one has a well-defined deliverable for you, or I assume that's what you mean by that?
If we're in agreement, I heard it multiple times up here. I don't know that I'm the one to define it, but I'm hoping that the experts around the room can help define what those policy agendas look like, because it does seem like we could potentially have some ordinances come out of it and some potential legislative changes as well. And maybe your conversation with the state of Nevada could help illuminate what's happening at the state for Southern Nevada jurisdictions.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Just to mention, it kind of goes in line with, and I agree, what I was looking for when I was given all of these suggestions here and when we spoke last week. I'm trying to find something, as we all are, to accomplish. But I think it's also important that whatever we select is going to be visible to the community, to the residents, have some type of, quality of life benefit to the people. And I think that's what will help us to succeed in whatever we choose. So there's a whole bunch of good items over here, but I would focus in on what we just mentioned. That's a very good item over there, because I think that's what has one of the biggest impacts on the quality of life within our communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Councilman, you're referring to the group home issue, okay.
Councilman Stewart.
Yes. So I'm kind of lost. Because I can't really read the boards. Could you kind of recap as to what everybody's been
sure.
saying?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
kind of where we've kind of ranked them just verbally?
Yeah, so Marco, if you'll go back to the previous slide, and I apologize, that's a good point. We should figure out a way to project these on the screen. So from the first question, you all narrowed it down to from 9 topics to 6, and those were expanding access to childcare, school safety and traffic safety, especially around schools, parks and recreation, group homes, senior fraud and services, and mentorship. And so then the question we're on now is, of those 6, which lend themselves to the most clearly defined deliverable that we can achieve during this first year and a half? So going to the next slide, what we've got so far, based on the comments we've heard, are the traffic safety and the group homes topics. Yep. And I appreciate that. I'll continue to read out what we've got on these, and then, of course, we can memorialize those later.
One suggestion, and maybe there is interest or not, but listening to what you're doing around mentorship, like there might be opportunity for you to present or have someone from Henderson present, because there might be ideas that I would want to take back to the city of Las Vegas. So maybe it's not a report, but maybe it's just like hey, this is what we're doing over here. Because there's not a lot of real opportunities for us to talk about the things that we're proud of within our jurisdictions in a way that we can kind of take it back and do something with it too. So maybe that's just another agenda item, is if we want to share something from our jurisdictions, we can do that.
Collaboration.
We have a senior citizen advisory committee, and your guy, I would love to have him come present. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I just made a note that we may want to consider some future agenda items for those types of hot topics or issues we want to share out. All right, so far, well, we're now currently we're down to 2. So we've got traffic safety and group homes, unless anyone wants to add another from the 6 from the previous slide onto
I'm
this
going to
list.
advocate for the councilwoman's point around looking for funding, the state and federal funding, and being that group that is available for funding if it comes to that point.
On number 9? Or 8?
That was number 8 on the full list. All right, so if there are no other takers, then, and I think I know what the answer to this question is going to be, the last question I had to narrow this down, and maybe we'll get to one, is which of these can the COG realistically achieve the deliverable in the next year to year and a half? And based on the discussion, I think you all agree that we can probably do all of these in a year to year and a half, unless anyone disagrees, but I think that's what I heard. These, the 3 that we're down to now. Okay. Which, and let me read those again. So we are down to traffic safety, group homes, and acquiring state and federal funding.
Okay, Councilwoman, could you help me with the state, your thoughts on the state and federal funding? Wouldn't that be kind of a subset of both of the 1 and 2, or is that a separate?
So it would go back to the concept of Southern Nevada Strong, is each of our entities goes after federal funding or state funding, but federal funding. And sometimes the federal government, maybe not in this administration, but maybe in future administrations, they would look for a regional entity to fund. And that's it. If it's nothing specific or direct, it'd be kind of copying the Southern Nevada Strong. Is if they're looking for a regional entity, we have one.
Okay, thank you.
And can I just suggest maybe not to take away from the idea of only picking one, because I 100% get that, but sort of back to my prior comment of this is sort of the issue that's going to be at the top of everybody's minds probably indefinitely. And so maybe we frame it as today we're going to pick one of those top two things as sort of our let's get it done in the next 6 months. But maybe there's opportunities that we sort of say, we're going to continue to be involved in this. And so we want some presentations over the next couple of months so that we can start framing over the next 18 months, 24 months, whatever it is, and that we're all educated. We're educating our jurisdictions on where we land. And it may be that for the next legislative session, we decide that, hey, we should probably pull together and we're going to take a stand on X policy, whatever it is. But we don't know today if we're ready to sort of commit to a particular property tax reform or sales tax reform or whatever it is, but that we sort of take a short-term and a long-term goal. Just a thought.
So Seth Floyd for the record. Yeah, I don't, the reason why, and I think the reason why I have focused on choosing one is just because with this board transitioning from the SNRPC, we didn't want to spread our focus too thin. But I do think, having heard the discussion today, I think there are some things that either are just reports or lend themselves to pretty short turnarounds that we can probably accomplish along with a bigger goal that does have a specific deliverable. And in fact, I've made some notes here that we as staff will go back and kind of figure out how we want to maybe tinker with our agendas to have some of those items on there. I think I'd still like to choose one as our main focus, but I think we can accommodate that as well.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
I'm kind of torn between traffic safety and group homes, but I would probably look more towards group homes because they're not easily, that's the wrong word, but they're identifiable and they're in a place. Where traffic safety, it's a matter of trying to catch them as they're going around and going different locations. I think the group home issues and the fraud and licensing are there for us to pick and look for within our communities, where the other one is just based on whether or not we have the ability and the luck to catch them out there doing what they're doing. Both have, amazing positive impact on the quality of life to all of our residents. But I think the group homes, a little more so because they're within our communities.
Could I ask Mr. Floyd if maybe, let's say, over the next several months, you and your team in concert with the other jurisdictions will come up with a report on this childcare licensing and SUPs and conditional use permits, and then maybe come up with a couple of recommendations, report back to this board. Maybe there's individual ordinance changes that we need to make at our jurisdictions, or maybe there's some legislative changes, but that's probably within like 3 or 4 months. And maybe we focus in on one, and if it works out well, then maybe we jump to the next one. Because after you make recommendations and ordinances get changed and a legislative agenda gets created, you just kind of have to wait for the next session, really. Is that doable? To do one at a time?
Yeah, I think so. I think that if that is the topic that's chosen, what we would do is for your next meeting, we would have dialed in exactly what that deliverable is going to be, and we might even have some preliminary reports ready. I don't know that, given all the different groups that are looking at this that I'm aware of, I'm not sure that they will all be finished by your next meeting, but we can at least give you that direction so you know where you're going. And yeah, I think if we could have a report, that gets you right before the legislative session if we do it'll be your 4th meeting, but it's your 3rd regularly scheduled meeting in the fall. And if there were legislative recommendations, that would be just about the right time to get those in.
I just had a statement more so regarding the group homes. It is an issue. It was more high profile childcare. where the person did not have a license for over 20 years. What is it, a slap on the hand, a slap on the wrist? There has to be some type of consequences, but what's in our purview to be able to have some type of accountability and consequences?
I think those are the perfect questions to ask, because those are some of the most severe issues I'm dealing with in my neighborhoods right now.
If we're choosing between the top two, I would just, and this is just for consideration, on traffic safety, I think there are at least conveners currently on that. There is, statewide traffic safety coalition. Aaron Breen's group does bring a lot of folks together. There was a lot of efforts going to the last legislative session to bring jurisdictions together. So there is at least a convening effort on that. Whereas I think on the group homes, there's nobody that's doing that really. So that's just sort of a consideration.
Please.
Just let me add to that just a little bit, because you brought out, and I can't remember his name completely. I think they call him Big Mo. Sounds like he's from Brooklyn, right? But he's not. He seems to have a group of homes around the valley that he rents the homes out, and then he refabricates the inside, knocks down a wall, this and that, and he makes individual bedrooms, and he rents them out to people who need them, mostly veterans, and he charges $600-700 for one bed, double that maybe for a larger bedroom. Doesn't feed them, just to give them a place to stay. And this is all he does. And it sounds like he's doing it, what I've been told by the people I speak to, and you may be aware of it, he's doing it all across the valley. The only problem is that he wound up opening one in my ward. And now we're after him. But this is what I see happening, and they're all very good. I agree. Look, we're all very involved representatives of our community. We're good public servants. But, this seems to be affecting both the young people, the older people, the veterans. I mean, there's a laundry list. Plus, if we were going to close one of these and eliminate it, you don't only help one person, you could almost help the entire community in there. So I think, again, I'm open to anything you all want, but I think this could be, like you said, something that nobody's messing with right now.
So since it seems like we're down to two, we can do the rank choice option where you all write in your ballot, or if anyone is ready to make a motion, we can do it in the more traditional way. Chairman, whichever you prefer. You guys can write them in and we'll see if one gets a majority, or we can take a vote.
Can you all agree? I think so. Councilman Stewart, I'm looking at you.
I'm just parroting or listening to my colleagues, and it sounds like the group home, child care kind of thing is what everybody's kind of leaning in on. If I'm understanding it correctly, I'll make a motion that would be the one that we focus on.
Can I check? I just want to check with Councilwoman Ashurst on the phone, just because I don't want to forget you out in Boulder.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So the group homes, obviously Boulder City, we're not having any problems with that I know of, but it would be something that I would look at the rest of the body and maybe start investigating in Boulder City. So obviously the school safety is, traffic street and school safety is more something that I could contribute to. I don't know how I could contribute to the group homes, but it is something that I can look into here in Boulder City to see, if that does impact me. But whatever the body goes with, I would definitely go. And it came down to the group homes and street safety. I'm leaning towards the street safety, but I'm willing to learn when it comes to the group homes. I know you guys are impacted more in the larger municipalities than Boulder City.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Stewart, you want to make a motion?
Yes, I will. With regards to that, if I'm understanding my colleagues, all of you correctly, I believe we are leaning towards focusing on group homes, child care, that sort of thing. So I'll make a motion that this group designates that, I guess it's number one on our list, or no, number two on our list, as make a motion that is what we focus on.
There's a quick question on the motion.
Just for clarity,
Is the motion for group homes or for childcare?
yeah, are we combining, it seems like we're combining 1B with 2.
That's
So-
what my,
Just from my
Yes.
background, because I'm not a planner, but SUPs, conditional use permits, and the licensing requirements at the state affect multiple populations, including child care centers and
Yes.
veterans homes and drug and alcohol rehabs, and it's all affecting neighborhoods.
correct.
Okay, so
So,
Yes, then.
yeah, that's my understanding too, and I think that's
Help me
what,
out,
that's why
Seth. Am
Marco.
I messing things up here, making it more complicated, or?
I think we're all good.
No, you're good. I think what happened, I think, is exactly what the chairman described. You took a couple of these topics, and as you were discussing them, realized there was a nexus between the two, or between maybe even more than two of these. And so what we'll do on the next item is sort of craft exactly what that's, I have a few questions for you about what that scope is going to be, but I think we understand what the topic is.
Okay, there is a motion, please vote. Aye.
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 And any opposed?
Aye.
No opposition, that passes. Thank you.
All right.
Good job.
We just did something that has not been done in the last 8 years since we've all been on this
Someone do a press
board.
release, call the media.
Interjurisdictional cooperation.
Nine. I've been on this thing for 9 years.
Mr. Floyd, we move on to item number 7.
Number 7, yeah.
Discussion for possible action to prepare reports on the chosen matters of regional significance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Seth Floyd, for the record. So in light of that topic that you've chosen, one thing that would be helpful, well, there's a few things that would be helpful, but the primary thing that would be helpful for staff is what that deliverable is going to look like. And as I was listening to you speak, I think it might actually be a couple of parts. I think one is probably a report that outlines the full scope of what the issue is. Because I'll be honest, we've started digging into this in the city, and I don't know that I still have the full grasp on what the problem and issues are. I'm getting close. But I think that's first is compiling all of that and understand, because each jurisdiction, I think, treats these homes similarly but slightly differently. And so pulling all that together in one place. But I want to make sure that, so I think a report is probably step one. Are there any other things that you as a board want us to be including as we move forward in the next year and a half with this topic?
From my perspective, your engagement with the planning directors, with the other jurisdictions, as well as building officials, I think the viewpoints from all of those around these potential issues, and then conversations with the state of Nevada around what are the legal requirements, the statutory requirements, and their licensing requirements, to see where we need to make potential policy changes at the local jurisdictions, ordinance changes, and then if needed, then NRS changes.
And I will just volunteer on behalf of Clark County, Abby Frierson, who's dealt with these issues on the enforcement side, Joanna Jacob from our government affairs team, similarly involved, and then Vince Chiano from business licensing. All three of them have been involved in a notable one who was lost their license for the state. So
It's a complex media issue.
So, Mr. Chairman, then I think what we will do, I need to give a little bit of thought to that. What we'll do immediately is engage all the jurisdictional staff who've been meeting on these issues, and I think we'll further flesh out exactly who from each jurisdiction who's not in this room we need to engage, and then we'll identify those folks from the state as well, from the enforcement agencies, and then we'll go from there with pulling something together. What we'll do, and then we'll have to figure out, we'll put an agenda item on for your next meeting to report out on where we are with this at the next meeting, and then we've got a few other items that I think you all want to put on your agenda as well, so you all can report out what you're doing in your jurisdictions as well. And we'll do follow-up. If everyone liked the one-on-one meeting, I know they're hard to schedule. We had to reschedule a few of those, but honestly, I think they were incredibly valuable for us to make sure we understood what you were looking for, and maybe vice versa. We could have a two-way conversation. We may do some more of those as well as we get into this if we feel like we need to do it, unless anybody objects, but I think that worked pretty well for helping us frame some of the issues.
Do we need an action on this one?
It's
Or
for
a motion?
possible action, so I don't know that we necessarily, if it's just direction for us to start compiling all this, I think we're good.
Okay, perfect. That brings us to item number 8 for citizen participation. For anybody who would like to comment, now is your time. And hearing and seeing none, I'm very, very grateful for your time and energy. I do think this stuff is important, and I think our constituents will benefit from that. So thank you, and thank you for the staff members who allowed us to think through this. So thank you for your time and energy in making Southern Nevada a better place to live. I appreciate it. We can officially adjourn.
Thank you.